2019, there was this movie that was released called Captain Marvel. You may or may not like the movie, but it is a movie that exists. But today we'll talk about why did Captain Marvel gross $1 billion? If the we'll be narrating this video from a third party's perspective. I will not be putting any of my personal opinions on the Captain Marvel movie or not in this video. So this will be just a objective video. So remember the Little Mermaid remake? We talked about the cultural war and how the cultural war essentially made the Little Mermaid have a quote unquote good opening. You know, the outrage of the Little Mermaid by the cultural war people. But this movie, Captain Marvel, I think will probably perform like an Ant-Man level character or something like that if the Fandom menace does shut up about Captain Marvel and every single thing that Brie Larson said. And I get it, I was a part of this too, even though I had zero influence on the internet anyways, so my opinion didn't really matter anyways, but Captain Marvel as a movie made $1 billion at the box office. And it's funny, the movie that they're trying to prop up, the Alita Battle Angel movie, did not really get a significant box office boost when Captain Marvel came out. It seems that most of these people were mostly grifters because they just go to movie as well. And the cultural war is really now impacting movies. Well, you have the Flash failing, which was surprising to many box office outlets, but not surprising to all the cultural war people because of Ezra Miller. But Captain Marvel was one of the first major ones. Okay, yeah, you had first like Ghostbusters 2016, The Last Jedi, and The Death of Star Wars, but Captain Marvel really started the whole thing. First of all, it was before the movie came out. Rotten Tomatoes. I do not like Rotten Tomatoes all too much, but most of the changes on Rotten Tomatoes, including removing the want to see thing and changing the audience scores to quote unquote verified audience scores, was all because of this movie. It is all because of this movie they changed Rotten Tomatoes audience scores to serve what Disney wanted on the silver platter. Make sure all Disney movies and all Marvel movies get high scores. Yes, this basically got the style of the meme that Disney buys and pays for, gives hush money to Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb to purposely give the movies higher scores so the movies don't fail. This really started with Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel was a movie that nobody was expecting to gross $1 billion. Again, some of the $1 billion movies, nobody was really expecting them to gross $1 billion. For example, Minions grossing $1 billion. Yes, we had to really bring in Minions here. Or the fact that Mario movie is the sole movie still of this year to make $1 billion. Movies like The Flash and The Little Mermaid and Fast X, movies that are expected to hit $1 billion, did not hit $1 billion. And Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is also expected by some people to hit $1 billion. All four movies still did not hit $1 billion and are unlikely to hit $1 billion. But Captain Marvel is an outlier because people constantly talk about, oh, if the acting of Brie Larson is so bad, why did people go out and give this movie a $150 million opening? As well, as Captain Marvel had one of the highest global openings of all time. Despite this movie being labeled as an awful movie by the cultural war people. The Captain Marvel movie in America alone goes to $153 million. An opening that almost most movies dream of having. This is an opening that most movies say, oh my god, we need to have this awesome opening. Heck, the highest grossing movie of this year, the 3-day total, still did not beat Captain Marvel's 3-day total. I know the Mario movie had a 2-day head start, made $208 million, but Captain Marvel opened to such a high opening domestically that it was huge. And even on a second week, and the movie that they were popping up, Alita dropped 55% and watched some 122 screens. They were basically popping up Alita as essentially the counter programming to Captain Marvel. Despite this, Alita only made $3.2 billion that weekend as well. And even in the original videos, I pointed that out. The quote unquote counter programming basically failed. Alita is a very good movie, but the quote unquote counter programming with Alita versus Captain Marvel really did fail. And people didn't really care all too much what the Fandom menace was saying. The Fandom menace was solely the reason why Captain Marvel made $1 billion. The outrage about Brie Larson, about what Brie Larson does, about what Brie Larson says, really got so bad that this movie made $1 billion. I think if nobody really gave a shit about Captain Marvel or treated it as just yet another Marvel movie, the movie would have opened probably half of the current opening it was expected to do. Because really, March was not really a big month to release movies. At the end, by spring break, yes, it was. But Captain Marvel was always probably going to say, oh, it's just another Marvel movie. It's meh. Oh, yeah, that Captain Marvel movie, oh, it's meh. It's like Ant-Man, and other wrestling movies. And when treated just like it's every other first outing Marvel movie and probably opened to $70 to $100 million. But the Fandom mess and the outrage related to Brie Larson and what the Fandom mess was saying as well. And then we had the Captain Marvel fans who were going out to go see the movie because they kept seeing, tweets about, oh, empty theaters of Captain Marvel. Okay. And even people making conspiracy theories that Disney was the reason why Captain Marvel did so well. And Disney basically was buying theaters to make sure Captain Marvel had a good weekend. Again, yes, some places did have empty theaters, but again, considering that Captain Marvel was a new movie, they had so many different showings, and maybe some of the showings didn't do too well, and certain locations, again, as well. So apparently, and of course that is about Captain Marvel, so apparently the empty theaters were all like bought tickets, and no one went to go see it. And people say, but the real box office is actually 30 to 40 million opening, not 153 million. Again, that is a very stupid thing to say, because again, it might have been a midnight screening, which again, I don't really think many people want to go to a midnight screening of any movie, but Captain Marvel had a really well per theater ratio compared to most movies. So, and also, there was another reason why Captain Marvel probably did so well was because of Infinity War. It was supposed to tie into that movie, which was the biggest movie of the year. But I think really the whole thing with the Fandom mess and the whole cultural war thing and the whole outrage, overplayed this movie's box office numbers as well. So overall, that is about Captain Marvel, one of the most hated movies of all time. Despite the movie making $1 billion, it has always puzzled me that how could such a hated movie make $1 billion? And the same thing could apply with other movies like Minions and the Lion King remake. Everybody online was outraged over the fact that the Lion King was getting a live action remake. Let's give the movie $1.6 billion. Same for Minions. Everybody online was trashing on the Minions movie. Okay, let's give it $1.1 billion. Okay, maybe don't outrage on a movie if you really hate it so much. Okay, that's why the Little Mermaid remake got a good opening of $95 million. Because people just can't seem to get outraged enough over a movie. I bet people were still getting outraged over Ezra Miller being Flash. Ezra Miller with Flash will probably made similar money to Captain Marvel. But again, the outrage was rather silent for the Flash, which actually worked, and the Flash is going to lose money for Warner Brothers. See, maybe the Fandom man should warn that you don't have to be outraged over everything, and just let the things come past as it is. And maybe we won't have another Captain Marvel where the outrage inflates the gross. Same thing with Little Mermaid. There were predictions that would say the movie to open as low as $70 million. Well, if people want outraged over the Little Mermaid remake, it will probably open to $70 million domestically and $100 million on the Memorial Day weekend, $90 to $100 million, which would have been Disney being in panic mode, especially because they would have been stuck with another failure on their hands. Which the real movie remake is still a failure, but again, people don't really care about that movie all too much. And that's brings us this video here. Goodbye.